Hello, welcome back. Part two, as you may have noticed, certainly if you watched part one, we're back in familiar, or is it unfamiliar surroundings, James Gregg. Somewhere, I was wondering, we'll ever get in this building again. Here we are.
Here we are, and it doesn't seem 2 minutes, let alone 2 years since we've been in, so great to be back, yeah, brilliant.
It's the best part of 2 years, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And it's always better. I mean, you and I have been linking up on Zoom, and sometimes you can get guests that you can't ordinarily persuade to come into the studio geographically, or they might be just too big a superstar to come all the way in, although Tony Currie's quite a superstar.
He is,
and he's here.
He's been here a multitude of times, so he must be doing something right.
He certainly has, and we're grateful for that. But isn't it nice just to sort of have a degree of normality? And by the way, this is a sort of bubble, and that's a sort of bubble over there. Those two have been virtually living together for... how long did it take to write the book, Andy?
It was just a period within a long period. It didn't take 5 years to write.
No.
I wasn't writing for 5 years.
Not solidly.
No, I was
not solidly.
I was busy doing Big Stars books.
Oh, yeah.
Filled in October's.
Like Keith Edwards, for instance. Yeah.
He preceded him.
Get round to it.
I practiced with Keith.
Yeah.
Oh, he won't like that. Wow, he will not like that.
I'll tell him.
He will not. And before we carry on, we ought to mention that at the official book launch, which is, as we speak, a week tomorrow, which is Friday the 12th of November, the Platinum Suite at Bramall Lane. There is a function with Tony Currie and Andy Pack, and with Keith Edwards, who's one of the ex-players there. Ted Hemsley's another, and Tony Kenworthy as well. And I'll be there with great honour being asked to come and interview them. Probably because I'm the only one standing that still remembers them playing. just about. But I doorstepped Tony once. You know how
You have told me this story before, but it's a good one. It's a good one.
He lived at Dronfield Woodhouse, and there were rumours of his transfer long before he actually... And we're going to complete a story which began in part one, when he was transferred to Leeds in 1976. But a few months before that, rumours were rife of him leaving Sheffield United, and I worked for the very first Sheffield TV station, Sheffield Cablevision. So I went off and knocked on his door. You know, get that.
Doesn't happen
what an intrusion that was, Tony.
Yeah.
You don't remember it, do you? But I knocked on your door. And you were very, very polite. Very polite. You were ahead of your time in a pink shirt. I've got to tell you that. Way ahead of your time.
Not with a pink suit on, I had a pink suit and all.
You did? You told me nothing. Anyway, I got nowhere, but at least I got... So anyway, look.
Now you know why the book took so long.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. So, right, 1976, you'd signed a contract for 7 years in 1973 because Manchester United had wanted you to replace Bobby Charlton, and United are going down or have gone down. And there's a clause in it that you could go if in that event.
No, there wasn't a clause in the contract. No, it was just a word of mouth thing between me and
John Harris.
No, what's his name?
Jimmy Cyril.
Ragg. Yeah, Dick Ragg, right. The chairman at the time. You know, if we go down, you can go. And so I put in three requests, and it didn't, and they turned everyone down. And then we went to Gibraltar. Jimmy Cyril was manager. And he said, when we get back from Gibraltar, you've got to go to John Harris's house and to meet him on the Sunday. So, it was a midweek, I think, when we got back. Anyway, so I went to John Harris's house, got in the car, and we just drove up the motorway, didn't say a word to each other. And we drove into I didn't know where we were going, drove into Ellen Road Gates. And I thought, oh, right. Yeah. And he said, right, off you go and speak to Jimmy Armfield. So I went in and came out a Leeds player.
No agents?
John Harris said, what did you do? What have you done? He said, what's happened? That's what I mean. He said, what's happened? And I said, well, I've signed for them. And his head went down on the wheel. And that was it, really, and we drove back and hardly said a word again.
His head went down on the wheel. He was obviously distraught to lose you.
Yeah.
But what I find, well, I've never heard that story before. What I find fascinating is he didn't attempt during the journey to persuade, knowing where he was taking you, to persuade you to stay at Sheffield United.
But he,
Why
he didn't need to because he didn't know he was going to Leeds.
But why did John Harris not do that? Because he could have perhaps got in.
Well, he was a man of few words, as you know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
if his head went down on the wheel and he was so distraught to lose you, I don't know, maybe the chairman had said, look, we need this deal to happen. Because it was a big fee for the time, wasn't it?
Well, it was, yeah, and we just built the stand, hadn't we? It had started being built in '73, and
what was it, 260,000 something, 250,000 was it, something?
what, the stand?
The fee, no, the fee.
Oh, the fee. Oh, right.
Yeah.
That was 2.5 million. No, that was the stand.
Yeah.
270,000 in all.
Was it? Yeah.
And
Which doesn't sound a lot now.
But what I know, I mean, it does actually, because you talk about inflation and all that kind of stuff, and actually, it does sound a lot. Yeah, it sounds a lot.
Well, what annoyed me, the year after I signed my 7-year contract, they got rid of Jeff Salmons, who was half the team, and I signed the 7-year contract on the premise that we were going to buy players and build the team round me and Jeff and blah blah blah, and that never happened. They got rid of Jeff, and that upset me. But anyway, well,
You're still employed by Sheffield United.
I'm
Just
still
be
there.
careful.
I'm still there.
Don't upset anybody now.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you have to be diplomatic, but maybe we can talk as well about Sheffield United now. There's been a bit of upheaval. A new manager's come in. There's invariably teething problems between as you go into a new era. Have you any? You're still going to all the matches, I presume, all the home matches.
Home matches. I went to Barnsley.
Yeah.
That was my first away game really since we went down.
What are your impressions?
Well, there's not a lot. There's not a lot wrong apart from the fact that we don't shoot enough, in my eyes. We get from our end to their end with hardly any difficulty. Get to the side, get to the byline, and it's the final ball in, or it's somebody in the middle that's not getting themselves in a position to receive a ball just for a tap in. I mean, the football's still nearly as good as it was, but it's just that them 2 or 3 things. I think we don't shoot enough, and we don't pick out a red and white shirt with a cross.
Do you think it's a confidence thing, Tony? Do you think it's a bit of a hangover from last season, and the fact that if you're losing matches and losing matches and losing matches, it's then quite hard to start all of a sudden winning matches just because you've dropped down a division? Or do you not think there's anything in that?
Well, yeah, of course, confidence is a big part of it. I think we've lost four at home already this season, which is tragic, really. But getting back to it, Flecky and Ollie Norwood, they've got 2 great shots on them, and they don't shoot. Well, they hardly shoot at all, and. I think that's all I ever said in the last couple of games. I went to Forest the other night as well, and we just don't shoot enough. I'm shouting shoot in the director's box.
Yeah. As long as it's shoot and not something else.
Oh dear.
I mean, but I know Slaviša Jukanovic is on record as...
Pardon?
Yeah, I know Slaviša Jukanovic is on record. I know, it's a bit of a struggle. And accentuated by the fact that I used to do a lot of United matches on the radio, and this season, for whatever reason, I've been banished to Hull and Huddersfield, so I'm not getting to Bramall Lane very often. Hence, I've not had to pronounce that name other than on here. But anyway, that's another story.
Well
I'm always very glad to go anywhere to my football, but it's left me slightly in the dark where the Blades are concerned. But I know Jukanovic has wanted for some time a couple of wingers. How desperate is the need for that? I mean,
Wingers?
Yeah.
Wow.
What do you think?
Is there still a thing about wingers?
He calls them wingers.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wide players. They call them wide midfielders.
Yeah.
To penetrate and get crosses in.
Well, like I say, our wing backs still do their wing backing. and you know, it's I can't say it enough. It's the final ball, or we don't get it in early enough, and we start again. So we go backwards and start again. But I'd like to see them get the ball in earlier, and then the forwards at least know it's coming in early, because that's a problem sometimes, because they might stop making their runs. But you know, I don't think there's a lot wrong. You're talking to the biggest optimist. We got some great players there still, and I think the squad's good enough to go up. Obviously, it's going to be more than likely the playoffs now, but we're only 6 points, 7 points behind the top six. I think, is it, Andy?
I think it's 6 off 6.
Yeah,
So,
and it has been for 4 or 5 games. I mean, you know, we've lost the last 2 at home. That's 6 points down at Swanee, isn't it? And you know, we should have beat Forest.
Yeah, Andy's eyebrows slightly were raised when you said you're the world's biggest optimist.
that's not fair, Alan. They went through the roof.
But having said that, Tony sat there
About Sheffield United.
Tony has sat there and predicted promotion when United under Chris Wilder were in the Championship, and absolutely, you know, said they're going to win the league. And
Got it spot on.
yeah, you did in the second season. In the first one, they were slightly off, but very close, very close. So we should listen to him now. One fascinating thing in part 1, I didn't know, but perhaps others did, I don't know, but I'm sure it's in the book, is your admission that you'd like to have been a coach, well, not a coach, a manager. And had you been a manager, I'm pretty sure that you would have taken a principled stand on including flair players and not necessarily insisting that they were found in their own penalty area, because I know in your time there was a stigma against the very most skillful players in the country. You were one, Alan Hudson was another, Stan Bowles. There were others, weren't there, Andy?
Marsh, Charlie George.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Alan
There
Hudson
seemed to be a stigma against them. Would you, in your own small way as a manager, you'd have liked to have changed some of that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I can't remember any of them go. Well, Frank went into management a little bit, didn't he? And what have you? But they certainly didn't play enough games for England. Those people you just mentioned. But yeah, I'd have needed a lot of patience, I think. You know, I mean, people like me, you know, like Bobby Moore and Bobby Charlton, Glenn Hoddle to an extent, they all had so much skill, and probably expect more from players. So you have to be patient. So I don't know how to cope with that, because I haven't got a lot of patience. But
You'd have to accept that the players under your command could not have done what you did, for starters, wouldn't you?
no, they'd probably run more than me. But you know, apparently I was lazy and didn't do a lot. But
Who said that?
yeah, never mind.
I wouldn't have wanted to play under him. He used to give us stick in staff games and walk off because he got frustrated with us, so God knows what. If his living depended on it.
There's no denial either.
It would have been shoot then, we'd have lined us all up and shot.
Well, he's told me that story that many times, I believe it.
Would you have been a decent manager, Andy?
I think I could have been. I think I would have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah.
What?
But I mean, anybody can say that, can't they?
Which managers you played under would you've drawn most influence from then?
Venners.
Right.
Terry Venables. He was the top. He was the top man.
He gets a whole chapter.
He was.
Yeah,
he
well.
was fabulous.
Yeah.
Fabulous. You know.
He seemed like a really good. I don't know the guy. Didn't really come across him in my career. He seemed like a really good man manager.
Oh yeah. He was man manager. Fantastic coach. Did all the coaching.
Yeah.
It was superb, and the press loved him. The fans adored him everywhere he went, and you know, it was just probably the FA that didn't, because he should have been manager for at least 10 years.
Yeah, I agree with that.
England.
Our mutual friend Chris Waddle speaks of Terry Venables allowing him to drink 3 pints of Guinness before games at Spurs, because Chris had 3 pints one lunchtime or something and played a blinder that night.
Yeah.
And I think Terry said, "Oh, fantastic! What's made the difference?" He said, "Well, I've had a few pints of Guinness." So he said, "You better do that and do that more often."
Yeah, he kept doing it, didn't he?
And he carried on doing it. When he came to Sheffield Wednesday, he would get David Hurst to pick him up, and the pair of them would go and have a few pints before games at Hillsborough. Did you do that?
No, no drinking after Tuesday.
Religiously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Religiously, in the sense that you prayed you didn't get fined out.
No.
So you were a dedicated non-drinker in the approach to games?
Yeah, I didn't touch a drink till I was 22. I wasn't,
But it became a problem
alcoholic.
later, didn't it?
Yeah, because I was good at it.
There's a few of us here who are good at it. In fact, we could all have played for England at that.
No.
Not quite.
No, there's a story in the book about me and Ray Ankin at Leeds one Thursday, but I'm not going to mention anything else.
Because you want people to buy it, don't
Buy
you?
it and read it. No, very didn't drink after a Tuesday night. No, definitely not.
That's impressive, but I think it's a bit surprising, really, for that.
For the era. I mean,
Yeah.
I hear stories constantly about players in that era kind of, having a cavalier approach to their nutrition and that kind of stuff. Was there anybody telling you to do that, or was it just you working out that actually it was probably the best thing to get the best out of yourself on a Saturday?
Pat Malloy, who was the Watford physio, and he was Irish, and he drove a three-wheeler van, and he had a limp, and that, I don't know whether he was an ex-player or not, but he could have been a boxer. He had one of them noses. Sorry, all you boxers. I know you haven't all got. Sorry. I know you all haven't got. But
Get Curtis
Depends
Wood
how
out
good
there.
you are.
and you'd go into his, got anything for a sore throat, Pat? And he'd say, yeah, open razor, now get out. But he used to say, he used to get all the first team there and everybody, and he'd say, no drinking after Tuesday, and none of the other.
Really?
Either after Tuesday.
Right.
Yeah. So
You stuck to that one as well.
and I didn't mean orange juice.
I think.
Yeah. Because I did what I was told. I was a good boy when I was at school. When I was at school.
I think probably Tony wasn't drinking when it was de rigueur to drink for pleasure and company and what have you, and his drinking was for, if you like, the wrong reason. When he was down.
To try and replace some of the high that he lost after playing. We'll come back because we've still got a few minutes left. And
Not done one of these for a while.
no. In fact, I saw one of these on Twitter today, which you posted.
Funny. Very funny.
Believe it,
Yeah, well, I tell you what, because we've not done a little local Sheffield roundup for a while, certainly not from this studio, we'll do it a bit back to front, shall we? We'll sort of end on football, start with elsewhere. Start with the Sheffield Steelers double-header, as is usually the way this weekend. Belfast at home, Guildford away for the Steelers, and a good local side to start with as well, because they are top of the English Ice Hockey League. Early stages of the season, loads of games, boatloads of games in their season. But yeah, they are top, so a nice start for them. Also top, Sheffield Sharks in basketball, although it is only after one match. So I've got to put a bit of a caveat on that. They've got Manchester away on Friday night. But when things do get back into full swing down at the arena, it's a great little place to go to either watch the Steelers or just across the road at the English Institute of Sport to go and watch the Sharks.
Or get an injection.
Yeah.
Nobody turned up when I had mine.
Well, there you go. It beats that on a Friday night, I think, going and watching either of those two down there. It's entertainment. Right, let's do non-league football clubs, shall we? Because it was a bit of a delight, wasn't it, when there weren't, with that awkward period where you weren't allowed into Bramall Lane or Hillsborough, but you could go and watch Hallam or Worksop or Penistone or whatever, and there was that sort of fleeting period where actually they started doing really well, and we're really pleased to see actually that that's continued. We've been up to Hallam, and you've been elsewhere as well, to some of the local non-league grounds, and it's brilliant. The atmosphere is great, it's nice and cheap, you get a great view, you can hear what's going on, and you come
Yeah.
away having a great
You
time.
can hear the players.
And if you go up to Sandygate, you see loads of goals because they're absolutely flying O'Hallam at the moment. They're third in their league, O'Hallam, and scoring so many goals. Like I said, 500 or 600 at home on average as well.
500 or 600 goals. I thought you were
Well,
going to
yeah,
tell
there
me
is
that for a
that.
minute.
There is
I mean,
that.
it's not far short.
No, it's not.
But the great thing is, you said there, James, the crowds that they started to get during lockdown, when it was the only place you could go and be part of a crowd to watch a football match, they've maintained those.
I think they've
Even though
retained it well.
the pro game is back and getting good crowds, so it's great to see.
Yeah, exactly. Worksop Town is. I mean, look, we've had loads of non-league teams and managers and stuff coming in here over the 7 years or so we've been doing the show. But yeah, Worksop Town, they're at home to Bridlington this weekend. Sheffield FC are away, and they've got Marsk away from home. They actually, incidentally, were Stocksbridge Park Steel's opponents at the weekend. 2-2 that one finished, and Steels have got Hebburn Town. And before you asked, that's from the northeast, but I'm sure you knew that anyway. But just thought you might try and test me first time back in the studio. Let's just end on our 2 league clubs as well. Sheffield Wednesday, first round FA Cup action against Plymouth on Sunday, off the back of a really big win on Tuesday night as well. You were there for that one. Looked quite impressive.
It was.
Did
Yes,
the
it was.
scoreline flattered?
Yes, I did.
scoreline
Yes,
flattered a
it
bit,
did.
yeah.
Not everybody agreed with that, but I like to. I didn't know my views were that important that so many people would disagree with it. But anyway, it was one of those where I think more agreed with it than disagreed. You know, keep your feet on the floor.
Yeah.
It was the kind of game, honestly, that over the years, when you look at the balance of possession and number of attacks each side had and chances near goal, more often than not, I'd have expected a 3-2 or a 4-2 from something like that. Certainly, Wednesday deserved to win.
Atmosphere was good,
but
though,
let's not
apparently,
lose sight of the fact that it was unusual as a 3-0 game, in my view. Other people disagreed. The atmosphere was great, helped by 4,000 from Sunderland, fantastic turnout from them on a
League
Tuesday
One,
night.
it's incredible that.
It is, huge game in League One.
Yeah.
And Sheffield United.
Yeah, away at Blackburn, actually, after that 1-1 draw against Forest on Tuesday night. And just beware of the team that got pumped 7-0 in midweek.
It is the worst combination, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the worst thing. I feared for Sheffield Wednesday against Sunderland because they'd just been hammered 5-1 at Rotherham. Paul Warren's team going great. It's always great to see. And I thought there might be a backlash that Wednesday would be on the end of. It didn't happen, and let's hope that doesn't happen for Sheffield United at Blackburn. Are you going to that game?
7-0 at home as well.
Yeah, it's the biggest home league defeat in 135 years.
Is it?
Which is not great if you're a Rovers fan.
No, I remember seeing Sheffield Wednesday ship 7 at home to Nottingham Forest once when it was Roy and Collymore. And Trevor Francis was manager, but it's pretty rare, that, isn't it? You'll be going to Ewood Park, will you?
If I can get in. I've
Well,
struggled.
speak to people of influence. You need to speak to, yeah. Have you got any, do you know it?
You're puzzled by that.
Do you know anybody of influence?
No, do you mean kit man or something like that?
Somebody like that, yeah. Somebody wearing kit, even. Do you go to the away games, Tony?
Well, I said I've been to Barnsley and Forest the last 2, but they're the first 2 since COVID, really. So, but I'm not going to Blackburn. No,
Okay.
I've got something else on.
You'll be shouting "shoot" from a longer
I
distance.
will, yeah.
They might listen, mightn't they?
And we've missed some really decent chances lately as well. We for me should be 6-8 points better off, and that would put us be sitting in a nice position. So you've got to look at it like that. We haven't got the points, but we should have had.
Yeah. Lys Mousset's frustrating, isn't he? He's got all the ability in the world, or seems to have, and isn't fit often enough, or has to come off. But we've seen with the goals he scored this season what he can do. What do you think?
Yeah, it is a bit frustrating here and there, but I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been up the academy properly. Like I used to go up probably 2-3 times a week. But I've not been again through COVID. But yeah, it is a bit frustrating, I suppose, that he doesn't finish a game or he's not fit enough. I don't really know the ins and outs of it, but you can see that he's got talent. He's quick, very quick, and he's got good feet, and he's got a great shot.
Billy Sharp's still the most dangerous striker and the man most likely to, I always think. Not in the team at the moment, it's sort of coming off the bench, but anyway.
Well, Billy's, you know, Billy's a legend now and has been for a while, and he's just fantastic to have in the squad or even on the pitch to start the game. I think he should start the game more than be brought on for the last 10, 20 minutes.
I'm sure he'd probably agree with you, but he keeps his counsel, and that's one of the things with the captaincy with Billy, that he just does what's right for the team, for the club. Any frustration keeps it buried.
The problem with Billy in that regard is that if he keeps coming on and creating and scoring like he has been, he's going to keep that job rather than starting.
Yeah. Super subs get a raw deal, don't they?
I think also as well, he knows his role. He's probably comfortable, isn't he, in what he is now, and you see that in all sorts of sports, don't you? These players who get on a little bit, and
I don't think he's comfortable being on the bench. I think he wants to start.
But I think he also knows he's happy enough contributing and whatever. I'm not saying fully, because we know what his character's like. He's never going to be completely. He wants to start every game. Of course, he doesn't play every minute.
Well, I can tell you that definitely Billy Sharp wants to be on that
all the time,
at 3 o'clock, whenever.
Yeah.
But if he's an effective super sub, which is that what he's making himself.
Yeah.
Like David Fairclough for Liverpool all those years ago.
Not the same, Andy.
Was it like this? Was it like this when you were writing the book?
Yeah.
No, worse.
Well, it's been fantastic to have you both here, and I wish you all the luck in the world. You won't need it, because I'm sure that this book will sell very, very well, not only in Sheffield but in Leeds, where you were a legendary player as well, and maybe down south, I'm sure.
I'm doing a signing down at QPR.
Yeah,
that's a definite. Right. I don't know about Leeds yet.
Okay, well, I would have thought that it should sell well in Leeds, bearing in mind what you achieved there, and for England during that time as well. I want to thank everybody watching as well for bearing with us during the last 20 months when we tried to cobble together a show on Zoom, which, thanks to the man that you don't see behind the glass there, Gregg Burak, was a minor miracle, really, in that he...
Cheers, Gregg.
Gregg was sitting at home, in his own home. I was in my home, you were in your home, and various guests were in their homes. None of us even came in here, and yet there was still a show going out, which was something miraculous. But it's so wonderful to be back. Next week, there'll be a really rising EFL manager, current EFL manager, in the studio. A week after that, there'll be a former Sheffield United favourite, but not quite as favourite as this man. James, thanks very much indeed. To Andy and to Tony Currie, many thanks, and thank you to you. See you next week. Bye.